magic tricks though, Corey. I do this cool thing for my kids if they come to my class on the day of their birthday, and I don't know why it only works if it's the day of their birthday. I can read their mind. So if their birthday's that week, like Friday, I see them on a Monday. I can't read their mind, but if it's the day of, so they come running in for their magic trick. It's my birthday. It's my birthday, right? And then I do a magic trick for them. So I do magic tricks better than I do jokes.
Well, I do jokes well. Say a funny thing, but it's not intentional. It just happens. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Corrie. You know I'm always happy to see you.
I'm always happy to see you too. It's so fun.
People in life, right? That it's when you see them, it's good to see them.
That's right. Just pick right back up where you left off.
I was really nervous, and I want you to know that I just kept saying to myself, because Michelle doesn't know how close I was to saying no. The only reason I said yes was because of you.
Oh.
And every time I got nervous, I'm like, do it for Corrie. Corrie, do it for Corrie.
You're one of my heroes. I just think so highly of you. So
that is high praise. High praise from you. So thank you.
Of course. So this question is sort of loaded these days. How are you?
It is loaded, isn't it? It's funny. I am a fake it till you make it kind of person. So I initially go to great.
Yeah.
I'm doing great, because even if I'm not great, if I keep saying great, pretty soon I'm great, right? That's just kind of how I roll in life, and it served me well in leadership and certainly with kids and schools. But now I have to work a little more to make great come out, right? Like, I don't want to be disingenuous to people's real pain, and to my own, right? It's just a real different time. So I'm trying to be more in touch with that. But, I'm faking it till I make it. So I'm great today, Corrie. But there's a lot on the plate like everybody else.
Yes. So what are you focusing on these days? Just in general.
Yeah. Well, I think along with so many other teachers across the country, I have been just thrust into digital learning platforms and delivery models, right? And it's just consuming me every day. Like, this isn't why I went in to education, to not be in the presence of children. In fact, that is my joy. Place is to actually be with the kids, and what I've worked really hard in my career to be able to get back to be in the classroom. And so to not be with them every day. But I do have to say, I when I'm seeing my kids on Zoom meetings, I can't stop smiling, right? And then pointing that out to them, like, look what you're doing to me, right? And so, we're figuring it out, right? We're figuring it out. But the learning curve has just been straight up for me as a teacher. I really thought I was going to get out of the education business having survived technology, right? Rather than having to really be thrust into it. So
what's been like the bright spot in terms of using the technology and maybe surprising yourself about your own capacity, or maybe a bright spot that you didn't anticipate having to be just students?
Yeah, that's a good question. The bright spot, right? Because I feel like on a lot of days, there's a lot of frustrations that I wouldn't have normally had if I could have just gone into the building, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm actually being forced to be all of the mantras I share with my kids, right? Like I say to them when we're learning a new skill and it's going to be hard, do your best, forget the rest, right? You know what Kenda says, right? And I think I'm having to live those very things now in real ways. And so I think the bright spot is I have this opportunity to really experience what my kids are experiencing as a learner every day in our classrooms, right? Like the frustration of new material, or feeling like for me, feeling like I'm behind, right? Like I'm not up with the young teachers and leaders that are up on all of this technology and stuff. So I'm trying to kind of really take in that moment and learn what I can, so that I can better serve kids. I think that's
super reflective.
Been doing a lot of reflection lately, Corrie.
Lots of reflection, so much. So let's talk about you've had sort of a varied and very textured career in education. So let's talk about sort of what you've learned over the course of your various careers, or maybe like iterations of how you see yourself as a professional in your career. What has stuck with you the most from being a teacher, then to a site leader, then to an advocacy kind of position, then back to a teacher? So over that continuum of the arc of your career, what are sort of your lessons that you hold most closely?
I have learned a lot in the time that I've been in education, but I think what I hold on to is how I really came to it. When I was a senior in high school, I was either going to be a pastor or a teacher. Two things I wanted to be. So I had lots of teachers to talk to about that, right? Like, do I really want to be a teacher? And I remember the pastor of the local church, my mother, inviting her to our house and sitting on the porch with her and me saying, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I have this thing. I might want to be a pastor. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a teacher. I don't know what I want to do. She gave me the best advice ever, and it has really just served me to this day. And really, I think the reason why I've gone into so many different facets of education is she said, well, there shouldn't be confusion. So if you're confused about wanting to be a pastor, it doesn't mean you're not going to be a pastor. It just means you should go out into the world, live in the world, do everything that everybody else is doing, enjoy yourself, make tons of mistakes, live life to your fullest. And if you end up deciding somewhere down the road that you want to be a pastor, when you come back, you'll really be able to serve the people you're serving well, because you'll understand them, right? So I kind of took that servant leadership into education, right, with me. Like, and this idea that I should be building the capacity of everybody around me, right? Like it should make some kind of difference, hopefully some kind of positive difference that I'm walking through. And then I got my first class of students and I was miserable at it, right? Like just miserable at teaching, failed more than I succeeded by far, but I don't know how to explain it. There was like this joy to it.
Yeah.
That I knew that education was my ministry. So that just really allowed me to never be hung up on titles, didn't care to be in a number one spot, didn't require that. In fact, when I was at Gompers Charter, we would have a title naming party every year. Like, what are we going to call Miss Kenda this year, right? Because I just, I don't care what you call me. I don't care. Call me Allison, right? I really don't care, right? And so they would come up with some really funky names, but that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think, this idea that no matter what seat you are in the bus, you're supposed to affect as much change as you possibly can, and you're supposed to be serving people around you. But I think the thing that I'm taking away, like at this part of my career, going back to teaching, I didn't do such a great job taking care of myself and all that. I gave so much of myself, and I didn't realize that probably would have been much more effective had I taken the time to take care of myself. So I think part of my journey of going back into the classroom was starting to learn that part of the leadership process. You really can't serve others well if you're not starting at home first, right?
Yeah.
One of the stories that really resonates with me as a leader is the starfish story, right? All the starfish dying on the beach. So wherever I go, I just like look for the starfish, right? Like, where are the dying starfish in this organization right now, or in this school, right? And sometimes those are kids, sometimes those are teachers, sometimes they're leaders, right? Yeah. Or defunct programs that people are just clinging on to, right? And I just try to pick up as many of those and get them back into the ocean as I possibly can, right?
talk about a little bit about during this particular time, what has been challenging, and what have you, from all of the things that you just talked about and the wisdom that you've gained over time, what are the things that you've employed to sort of reconnect with students during this particular, really challenging time?
So I'm in a large district now, which has just been a huge shift as well. The cogs in the wheel move a little bit slower. In some cases,
a lot of it slower.
Right. I think what's been hard for me as, I'm in physical education, which is where I started my career and where I'll end my career. And so it's not seen really as an essential, which is just like so perfect for me around the whole self-care thing, right? Like, cause I'm like 100 times healthier because I stand for 8 hours a day versus sitting in a chair, right? Like, I just know from my own life how important the physical movement is, right? And the whole child and the whole body. So I know the kids are missing. So some of the ways that I've been reaching out, because I haven't actually been able to engage with my classrooms and my classes, is to have school-wide events. And yesterday I had a Qigong, right? I wanted people to see like, hey, yeah, and I don't even really know Qigong, right? I don't really understand it. I think it's like one of my new favorite things. I did a few moves before I got on this conversation with you. I'm like, oh, this stuff works, right? Bouncing around. I thought the purpose of it, right, is mindfulness, right? Your body and not stagnating and mindfulness. And you only do it for 7 minutes. And I thought, wow, our teachers could really benefit from that. Our leaders could really benefit from that, not just our kids. So in terms of reconnecting with kids, that was the easy part, because once they started moving, you just saw the smiles come out yesterday. They were having a good time doing it with their families, right? So you invite the families to these events too. I started to think about it more as like a systemic, bigger than just my classroom with kids.
Yeah.
But how can I help the whole organization and everybody in it take care of themselves during this time, right? Like, what are the messages I can give? So Friday, I'm having a dance party, right?
Awesome.
And I've practiced all the dances that the kids have tried to teach me for 2 years, and I cannot do them for the life of me, right? Well, I want to know that I proudly can do most of them now, but I'm not going to do them right just because I want people to laugh, right? Like, I think that's one of the things I miss about being in the presence of children. Pretty much everything they do and say makes me laugh. I take everything with a grain of salt, and they just really give me a ton of joy that way, right? So I'm going to kind of create those opportunities. And then I'm hoping in the weeks ahead that I will then start to meet with individual classes and grade levels. And then that's where I'm really going to be checking in with the social emotional stuff with kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm running polls, asking, the questions, calling kids out by name. I mean, I even saw yesterday, Corrie, when I said to kids goodbye by name, like, it's up on the Zoom, boom, big stuff, and they didn't want to leave. Want to go, and I'm like, I didn't want him to go either. I'm like, bye.
That makes me
goodbye, right? Singing sound music, right? So I mean, it's just like, I don't know, creating opportunities and space to get them smiling and laughing and moving.
Yeah.
Inviting staff too. Right? I think the reality is, like, a lot of teachers are afraid right now.
Yeah.
Tend to be type A's, and we want to do everything right.
Right.
I'm type A, and I can tell you I am not doing everything right when I do it every day. I'm so nervous at this point in my career, right? Like, so nervous when I go to get on a Zoom meeting. I'm like, am I going to push the wrong button and all, right?
I know.
It's a crazy thing. So I think all of these things that I'm doing for kids, connecting with families and kids, I think are good for staff.
So you're basically segueing into the next question. Being a leader from a teacher position. I mean, teachers are leaders, but sometimes when we're shoved into these strange scenarios, like in this COVID-19 crisis, you're actually having to sort of craft your own leadership without a lot of direction. So what does it mean to you right now in this space to be leading as a teacher? I mean, you mentioned really giving permission for people to be silly, to crack the, digital ice that happens remotely. But what does it mean for you to lead from your teaching position right now?
I have to say, I'm really thankful that I started my career in education as a teacher.
Yeah.
Because even when I was a site leader, or even when I was in an advocacy leadership position, I still tried to think as a teacher who had a classroom. I still tried to think about that individual class of kids.
Yeah.
Think of their faces, right? And stay in touch with them and think, what do they need today? So I don't know that that has changed. That's just been kind of the way I've rolled my whole career.
Yeah.
Is that how will I lead from where I am? I watched this show the other day. I don't even know what it was, but there was a great line, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to steal that line. I don't know where I'm going to use it, but I'm going to use it right here. That is a great line. This woman said, my father said, if you're trying to solve problems that exist, if you're trying to solve problems that will be solved in this lifetime, you're not thinking big enough. That you're doing something wrong. And I think I've always, from the very beginning of my career, gone into places and said, where are the big problems? And so here we are in a really big problem, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I'm thinking that same way as a teacher, of not starting with like, how can I have the greatest impact for that classroom of kids? And then going out from there and saying, what about the teacher who serves those kids? And what about the families that are connected to those kids? And what about the leader? I mean, I'm worried about my principals.
Yeah.
The burden is so incredibly huge for them right now.
Yeah.
What can I do to make their burden lighter? I had this image in my mind. People said, oh, you're going to be so bored when you go back to the classroom. Nothing could be further from the truth. But I kind of unintentionally kind of just noticed the kids. And that wasn't unintentional, but in noticing in the kids what was unintentional is I started to notice the bigger problems of the school.
Yeah.
And had this epiphany moment of like, I am in the best position in the school. I see every single kid who has an IEP, every kid who's a second language learner, every kid who's having behavioral problems. We were one of the highest spending elementary schools in the district. I was seeing all of these kids, and I thought, I change that, right? So within a short time, right, there was a really in-depth culture program in place that started to shift that. And then I would come home and tell the story of, I did my best Italian grandmother routine today as I would come out during recess. If I heard, inappropriate language, I'd come out and scream across the playground a kid's name, like, get over here now, and the kids would come with their head, sorry, Miss Kenda, right? So I really took on this, I can't be the mother anymore, motherly role. So I took on, the kids told me I could be their grandmother numerous times. So I just accepted that, right? And so I took on the grandmotherly role. But I started to look at recess differently and change, work with groups of people within the school to change those kind of things. And we went to 0 suspensions in 1 year.
Upside down leadership.
Upside down leadership, yeah. From the classroom.
Yes.
So I think that's how teachers should think. And I do believe most teachers do, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they can have an experience with a leader that can stifle that, right?
Definitely.
So I think that's the beauty of charter school leadership, is you keep a lot more avenues and doors open for teachers.
Definitely.
To have that kind of leadership capability. I'm wondering if this might be a time in education for the whole good guy, bad guy thing to go.
Yeah.
Is there this opportunity for us to unify in a way that is not political and doesn't, here I am, pie in the sky, right? That doesn't beat each other up, but actually looks at the intention of charters, and we actually become a model, right? Like to help more kids
Yes.
Not necessarily because they'll be in our enrollment base, but because we should just be trying to help more kids, right?
Yes.
And there will be plenty of kids for every school if there are great schools for every kid, right?
That's right.
And the bad ones go away, the bad players go away, right? And I know there's so many forces that are working in the reality, but I'm hoping that someone from somewhere really pushes that.
Me too. So in this time where we have sort of a lot of unintentional time sitting in our houses, not able to go and fill our free time with other things, are you reading anything right now that you think has been particularly impactful for you?
Do you want to know the junk reading I'm doing first, or
all of it?
all of it. I definitely have guilty pleasures reading, right? My family laughs at me because I like all that futuristic type of stuff, like end of world stuff, because I sit and I watch it and I go, well, I wouldn't do that, right? Like, I'm like, well, that was dumb. Don't open that door, right? Type of thing. So I am reading Margaret Atwood, her second book, right? And horrific series, right, that she wrote. But I found myself watching that going, ooh, that could really happen, right? Like, so I better read the sequel. So that's my guilty pleasure reading right now, my fiction reading. But professionally is actually, I can honestly say at this point, is my more fun reading. Can I show you some of them? Okay.
Of course.
I'll grab two. These are books that I've read before, but I'm now revisiting them because of the time, right? So the first one is the 20 Time Project.
Oh.
And so this is a teacher who studied at Google Academy, right? And the big takeaway of this is we are creating consumers, not thinkers. And so I am so taken with this. I mean, you can see I'm so taken with this book, right? And so I'm thinking about how can I become a 20-time physical education teacher? Like, how can I bring physical education into the 21st century for kids?
Yes.
And so this is, and of course, my mind goes to math and to English and to science and all, right? Like, so this one is just a lot of fun right now because it's helping me recreate my classroom, because I think things are going to look real different. It is a quick read, and I'm telling you, you put this in the hands of teachers and they will transform the way they teach because it's written to the teacher, right? And so he just really wrote about how he took his class from the traditional high school English class to the 20-time project class, which really just means taking 20% of your teaching time and kids what he calls wicked problems. And that so kids have to like just come up with all the wicked problems, right?
That's so awesome.
Problems that can't possibly be solved, right? And then they're given the time to solve those problems, come up with, but of course they're writing through it, reading through it, blogging, work teams. It's amazing, right? Like,
I'm going to get it. I'm going to order it right now.
It's a good one. This one was one we read at Gompers, and this is to like keep it real for me. These are all of the engineers and folks from Disney. And we use this book to help spark creativity. And so I wanted to share with you something that I think is really appropriate for the time. You can't flip a switch and make somebody else creative, but you can set up an environment in which the switch is more often on. Right? So I think that has a lot of application for leaders today. Yeah. And then I just want you to replace my face with this duck right here, right? And so it starts over here at 9 o'clock. And by 9:05, I have the best idea of the day, and off I go, right? And then I'll have a series of thinking and writing, and then by noon, I've completely melted down, and nothing I worked on all morning is applicable anymore, right? I think actually by noon, I decide to take a nap.
Oh, man.
And then it's great. It picks back up after lunch right here Can you see that okay, Corey?
Yeah.
The pictures, all right. So it picks back up and off I go again saying, okay, I'm going to give it, that other try, right? And then very shortly I'm stomping and throwing things, and then I'm swiveling in my chair and leaning backwards and falling down and crashing, right? And then I kind of maybe around 3:30 had somewhat of another good idea. I'm not really sure what was happening to me at 3:30. But then by 5 o'clock, I am done, right? And accomplished absolutely nothing. And the next day I start back with my great idea, right?
It's the arc of the COVID day.
Is the arc of the COVID day. When I don't feel like I'm getting anything done in a day, I'll just open that up and I'm like, okay, there I am at 10 o'clock. Got it.
Seriously, that is exactly what it feels like. And each day I think I'm going to get up, I've been trying really hard since our whole self-care talk to like have a pattern, get up early, do a workout, and like really stick to some very predictable things. But gosh, I can really get off track fast and look like that flustered.
I think, with this Disney Imagineer thing, what's going to be really helpful for me with that particular book is when we start talking about reinventing school.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
We have to give ourselves permission to be creative.
Yes.
Like, this is really out of the box time. So.
Yeah. Okay. So when all of this is over, if you could pick one place, someone said, I'm going to give you a ticket to wherever you want to go in the whole world, on the whole planet, any place, where would you choose to go?
Well, it depends on how long this lasts, right?
Yeah, right.
So if it lasts a long time, then the very first place I will go is to see my mother on the East Coast.
Yes.
She's in isolation, right? 83 isolation. So I will get on a jet plane and fly back there to give her an amazing, huge hug, right?
Yes.
So then I get a second trip too.
Of course.
That was a trip of the heart, but now
that's like a non-negotiable. That's not even a trip.
That's right. All right, doesn't count. I like your thinking. That didn't count as a trip. No. So then I think I would just go to our favorite place, which is Hawaii. Right? Oh. Go to one of the islands, and we have this place we like to go to in Kauai, where there's this one spot we kind of climb over some hills and rocks. Pretty sure we're not supposed to be there, and end up in a place where there's nobody else on the beach. It's just us on a beach. And that probably sounds like a little bit like our isolation that we're in now. But I think just a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Would be a really lovely.
Beauty.
Yeah. Beauty. Be reminded of that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sure has been fun talking with you. I always draw so much wisdom from hearing from you.
Well, Corrie, I want you to know that is mutual. You keep showing up, and I keep showing up in your circles, right?
I know, it's true.
And I just, I want you to know I notice that, and I value and appreciate that.
That's so similar. So grateful for you. Have a really good day.
All right. You too. Have a great day. Fake it till you make it.
Always.
All right. Bye, Corrie.
Bye.